Hello, hello. I've come to share a few things today. This is kind of a bit of an introduction. This is a journal that I have finished. I've been working on this for a little while, and I'm going to kind of show you. I've created a kit that I've made this journal with, and I've also created a kit from things that I've made for the journal. So a bit like I did for the botanical one, but this is a completely different theme. This is, it's kind of, the kit is a kind of memorabilia travel vintage ephemera kit. So I'm going to stop this video because I filmed the kit several days ago because I didn't want to print loads off. So I printed the kit, did a video with the kit, and then I've made the journal from that. So I'm just going to say see you in a minute, and I'm just going to stop for a moment. I have no idea whereabouts in the video this is going to be, so I'll just quickly show you. This is page 1. A lot of these I've printed on 2 different types of paper so you can see the difference, but that's page 1. This is page 2, and I've made some of the ephemera that are in the pack small, so you can do other things with those. This is page 2 again, but this time it's printed on 120 GSM ivory paper. So some of these print really well on paper. And that's another one printed onto paper. Sorry, you don't need that one. So this is page 3. This is page 4, and I have printed this. I have printed this 3 times. 1 because I'm going to use that, and 2, I wanted you to see the difference. This is the photo quality paper, and this is the ivory cardstock. So that's page 4. This is page 5, and again I have printed that onto ivory paper, so you can see those tickets look great. The kind of, I don't know what that is, it was a booklet cover. It looks much more orange on the photo paper. This is page 6, so that is on the ivory paper. Page 7, I think you get the idea what it looks like on the paper compared to the photo paper. Page 8, now there are photos on here, so it looks much better on the photo paper, and we've got some coloured items there. So this is page 9, the photographs. This is page 10, which are the vintage postcards. And because these postcards are really old, so they actually print quite well on the paper too. Actually, the ones on the paper, photo paper, actually look better than the originals. This is the back of postcards, not these postcards, but these were beautiful, beautiful vintage postcards. So that's the paper version. I've changed the name of this now, but this is the passport printed on photographic paper. Now obviously this one looks much better. But the inside I actually prefer on the ivory paper rather than the photo paper. So that is the entire kit. Like I said, I'm not sure whereabouts in the video this is. You may have seen the journal, you may not have. So let's move on. Okay, so you've seen the kit. I'm not exactly sure what I spoke about because it was a little while ago. So I'm going to show you the journal that I made, and this is a bit of a concept journal. I know I said I wouldn't do this because it's kind of a Nick and Jibid thing, but I wanted to show ways that you could use a kit without just using a kit, if that makes any sense at all. So basically, this journal has been put together by a lady who was married to somebody who had to travel for work. So he went off on lots and lots of trips, and he would bring her back bits and pieces from his trip so she could put together a scrapbook, which is what this is. It's her scrapbook of his trip. He didn't have anything to do with putting the journal together, it is just her. But she never went anywhere. She never ever travelled. So, you know, she missed out on all of these trips. So I made the scrapbook, but initially I wanted it to be a traditional kind of 1900 scrapbook. But it didn't really turn out that way. So what I did after I'd made the journal is I have made this red leather. It's reclaimed leather, it's from a sofa. This red leather, it's darker, it looks a bit brighter because of my lamp, but it's a darker red. This cover covers the actual journal, so she's made this cover to cover it, and it's just a seam binding closure. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this first because there was no room in the journal to put this. I thought this was going to be quite a small journal. It didn't quite end up like that. So this is a piece of the ephemera that I've used just to make a little notebook. I popped a little collage on the back with a sort of small version of one of the photographs and stamp and some lace and muslin. And then inside there are a few pages for journaling. So if I take this off and then I can give you another look at the cover. What I've done, if you can see, is I've hand stitched some lace. It's a vintage lace, but I have still dyed it. So this is the raw edge of the leather, and I've stitched along here so the journal can just slide in. So if you don't want the cover, you absolutely don't have to use it. So this is the actual journal. It was a gutted book because one, I didn't really have the energy to cut the wood to make the cover, but two, I did think this was going to be relatively small because I wasn't exactly sure how it was going to pan out. But anyway, we've got a rose charm. I'll talk about this one when we get there. There's some beads and bells somewhere in here, somewhere. There is a garment pin with some beads on. So I've covered this, I cut the book down to fit the paper, and I've covered it in a dyed calico. It feels really nice and it has a really vintage look to it. Now although this is, I've used my kit all the way through the journal, this beautiful image from the old design shop blog just worked so perfectly. And it says Sunshine and Roses. That was the name of the book that this was the cover from. And what I have done is I've just added a little book plate here, just using some cardstock, and I've printed the wife of Thomas Harpes, and that is the name of the lady who made this journal. That's her name. She doesn't have any other name other than the wife of Thomas Harpes. So inside we have a sewn pocket with a collage and vintage stamp, and there is one of the backs. I think the backs of postcards get a bit of a raw deal because the vintage ones are absolutely beautiful. So I've used some from my collection, the backs, just because the writing is so beautiful and I love the vintage stamps. So, and this is a piece of ephemera from the kit. Now some of the ephemera is just printed onto photographic paper and it's left because you may want to collage and continue the scrapbook. So this is a little bit of scrapbooking that she has done with some of the bits and pieces her husband has brought her back. This is a passport, and I was really paranoid about trying to find an image of a passport. So I made one. I made this in Photoshop, and and this is printed onto canvas using the first kit. So I printed that particular image out onto canvas, but not the inside. The inside I printed onto an ivory heavyweight paper, and I got my other half, because his handwriting is so lovely, to write the passport inside. And I designed all this in Photoshop as well, so this is absolutely not real at all. I've used the photo of him, there is a stamp, and I've stamped over that just to make it look like a passport, but this was completely designed in Photoshop. So that part of the kit, it's made to look vintage, but it isn't at all. She's collaged this little pocket using another piece of ephemera, and she's made a little tag, and there's another one of those vintage postcard backs. So this says the Imperial Tea Rooms. We've got some ledger paper, some of that vintage typewriting instruction paper, some vintage, well that's not vintage, that's just some trim that I've stained, music paper. This is from, there's a few pages from a really old encyclopedia that I've used, and I've tried to use travel kind of related stuff. So here we have a little envelope that's been sewn with some music paper and another little piece of ephemera. I need to try and go fairly quickly because I don't have a lot of battery, and there's a little rose charm on that page. Grid paper. I've used scans because the originals weren't actually the right size, so I've scanned some vintage embroidered doily, and there's a little flip here with some music paper under there, and another little journaling card that she's made. This paper comes from, I was really pleased with this, from a vintage, it's not a ledger book, it's actually a business accounts book which focuses on wages. So I've made this little file folder, and there is a little piece of ephemera inside there. Oh, I don't know which way around this went now. That just tucks onto that page. This will be available in my Etsy store as soon as this video is uploaded, along with the kits. There's an envelope in the middle of each signature with, again, some of the ephemera in. These are not backed onto anything, so they could be used to make collages in the journal. And this is from, all of the music paper I believe comes from Gilbert and Sullivan. I tried to use that all of the paper from the same book, but I may have had a bit of a brain lapse at some point. I'm not sure. There's the garment pin with some little glass beads on, and there's some more of this vintage trim. More music paper. She used one of their tags to make a corner pocket, and again there's some ephemera and another postcard in there. Another vintage page from that encyclopedia, more music page. Now this is, I've made two of these large collage pages, and I had intended on actually putting them into the journal, but I just thought there's so much writing space on the back and it would lose a whole page, so I've left these little collages separate. There's two. So this one is her wedding photo. So she has included the wedding photo because her husband carried a wedding photo around with him of him and his wife, and as you can see she looks rather happy about everything. He maybe not so much. He always promised to take her to Paris, and of course he didn't, but he did bring her back a little Eiffel Tower. Some more of the typewriter page, ledger. The other thing you'll notice is a lot of the ephemera that he brings back for her are they are business cards for restaurants and cabarets and cafes, and lots of really lovely places that you wouldn't think necessarily he would go to on his own while he's away travelling without his wife. Okay, so she's made this other little collage of bits and pieces that he's brought her back. and there is some more ephemera, and this is back. This is the front of a vintage postcard, and it's been backed onto cardstock, but it has been printed onto photo paper. Some tabs. Try and speed this up a bit. This is another one of the vintage doilies that's been scanned and printed, and this is a little piece of vintage music that she has torn out and added to her scrapbook because of the wording on there. Another little piece of ephemera. This is another little thing that he's brought back, artistic photographs of Greece, and inside she's made a little collage with a little bit of journaling space in there. Okay, so we have middle of the next signature, and here's a ticket of somewhere that he's visited and another business card that he has picked up on his travels. Taj Mahal, and a bit of table tennis on there. This is a picture of her. Now, she's made this little tuck spot, and there is a little piece of the band from her wedding dress here. And this is a picture of her that he used to carry around with him. He no longer does, so she keeps that, but she hides it. It's tucked into this little envelope, so you can't really see it. This is another journaling tag, and this is for galleries, museums and gardens. I think it was Gibraltar or Malta. Some more of that music, typewriter paper. Here we've got a little bead on a dangle and another little vintage postcard. That one's from Cyprus. Another little collage on the front of the next signature. So I really wanted this to look like a scrapbook, but maybe there's not enough collaging going on here. We've got a little pocket with a collage there and a really vintage a postcard, and I've just used the snippet technique that Abby uses. Abby from Purple Cottage Crafts. Hi Abby. We've got another envelope here with some lace and a vintage button that still had the thread in. We've got another little coin envelope here and some information about Switzerland. So this poor woman really did live her life through her husband's travels. We've got another vintage doily scan there. This is her husband's favourite recipe, duck in orange sauce. Ooh, just makes me cringe thinking of eating a duck, something I used to feed when I was a little girl. There's a little journaling tag there, and this has been backed onto some vintage atlas page. The envelope in the centre of the signature with some more ephemera in. Another restaurant that he used to visit. And this is the second one. It's just held on with a little Tim Holtz clip. The second of the large journaling pages, collages, and this one is of their son, their baby boy. There's a little tag in that pocket there, and it says family. I'm just about finished. Oh, another little tuck spot with another back and another front from postcards, vintage postcards. A bit more ledger. So that is the journal, and then from that I have made a second kit which I will go through fairly quickly. So these are just some of the pockets, tucks, envelopes and journaling cards that were in the book. I've also done the front and back cover of that notebook. Obviously they could be cut in half and used as journaling cards. Again, this one could be cut out and popped onto an envelope, or you could use it as a little tuck spot, Any of these could be used as tuck spots really, or pockets. That would make another nice one, and you could put your little title in there. These were 3 pockets, the collage pockets that she's made. I was going to reduce the size of these, but then I thought actually I'll keep them large because somebody might like to use them at that size. This is the edited passport, and this time this scan is from the canvas cover, so it does look slightly different to the one in the previous kit, and this is the passport filled out. And then I have scanned the full pages of the collages, and again they could be cut down and shrunk and used as journaling cards, or they could be used as book pages. And also in the kit there is a page of background, a plain sheet, but I haven't included that in, I haven't printed it because it was a waste of paper, but it is just very similar to the one in the previous kit. It's different, but it's very similar. It's just a very old vintage fly page, and it can be printed onto the back of any of the journaling cards. So thank you so much for all your support, and thanks so much to everyone who said they hope I feel better soon. I do too. I will be hopefully filming a Let's Create tomorrow, and we're going to make some tags because I really want to get back into the swing of things. Still got lots to do. I've really missed making videos and hope to get back to it again. I think that's everything. See you later. Bye.